Do you want me to?
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm really happy to have our guest on for today. His name is Andrew Lachlan from Asheville, North Carolina. He's going to talk to us about the hot cold cycle and demystifying it, how to use it for productivity, wellness benefits. Really fascinating. I've actually started using this myself, and I'm happy to welcome Andrew to the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Christopher. Appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, I know we were talking backstage, and you came from the Bay Area, and tell the audience, your story, how you got into this. It's really interesting, experimenting with it, and go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, well, I grew up as an athlete, and so I was training how to turn on, turn on, turn on, and perform all the time. And after my athletic career ended, I struggled with alcoholism and addiction. Fortunately for me, I was able to quit drinking, but 2 years after quitting drinking, I was still struggling with anxiety and depression.
Hmm.
And I found hot and cold contrast therapy through a friend in the Bay Area. He kind of challenged me to do 30 days of cold water therapy. And I just felt the inflammation levels were obviously lower, and I was not feeling as much anxiety or depression. And so I was like, wow, this is really helping lift the fog of anxiety. And I thought maybe this is going to be like a lifetime thing for me. And turns out now, fast forward 9 years later, it definitely is a thing for me for life. So yeah, it's been fun to watch the evolution and how many people are getting into it now.
Yeah, I know of because I kind of Wim Hof he sort of brought on like this cold, but then why didn't people need the hot? I'm
Mhm.
curious about that.
Yeah, so I like to break these apart. So you can talk about sauna and the benefits of hot. You can talk about cold water and the benefits of cold, or you can talk about using them together, and then they have what I would call like a different benefit, right? So sauna, it was funny how they both came to my life at the same time, just in totally different places. So sauna benefits, I think the longest study is out of Finland over 20 years, and you can listen to people go on and on about that study. But with more frequent use, you see dramatic reduction in all-cause mortality, cardiovascular events, and I started using it, and the main benefit I notice on a daily basis is sleep quality. And anybody who uses any kind of sleep tracker, if they use sauna that day, they'll see it on the Aura Ring or the Apple Watch or anything like that. So sleep quality is, I feel like, the daily benefit. I like to talk about longevity and vitality. Vitality is like feeling great now, and longevity is like sustaining that as long as possible. So our product really delivers both short-term benefits, and then long-term data is supporting all of these other benefits over time. With consistent use, I think that you can see a lot of different benefits in a lot of different spaces. And one of the other things I love about it so much is it's very approachable. Almost anybody can do it. The CrossFit is tough to get into. You've got to be at some kind of base level fitness. Sauna, if you go in there and it's 185 degrees and you only, and come back again and do another 15 minutes. So when I first launched Sauna House, I read all the studies that I could find, and they were really lacking. At that time, there was a lot of cold water swimming benefits. There was this long sauna study. But now, fast forward 5 years later, all these PhD researchers, Susanna Stolber, Andrew Huberman, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, they can't stop talking about it because the product really works and the data is really real, right? We kind of modeled at the time. Uh, I love the history of communal bathing spaces, and around the world, you see it in lots of different shapes and sizes. And so I kind of took a sort of a German Nordic model that was sort of out there, and then paired it with the data that I could find in PubMed, and we got hot, cold, relax, which we trademarked, and that's our proprietary circuit. And that circuit is 15 minutes in the sauna, a rinsing shower, 3 to 5 minutes in the cold pool, and then a resting period. And that resting period as we now know, is very critical in increasing brown fat adaptation. So the body needs to fight to warm itself up, and that's where you're going to see a lot of that cellular adaptation. And so when people visit Sauna House, they do 2 to 3 rounds of that. And that rest rehydrate period is also the time to rehydrate, right? So give your body a chance to self-regulate. That in doing that, you're actually getting health benefits. Like, it's very passive. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting there, but your body's working super hard to warm itself back up. And then, 2 or 3 rounds later, you come out feeling phenomenal. Cold water therapy gives you a ton of dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine. And so you feel good today, but you're also investing in the future.
Yeah. Interesting. There's nothing more refreshing than, wake up early, you have a hard workout, like sprint, and then you're like you're like sweating, detoxing, you just jump into like a cold bath, like it's like very invigorating. I love this idea of this heat therapy, which is, very, I know a lot of like professional athletes, they use what you're talking about, and,
Yep. And performance training, we talk about sauna specifically for endurance training. So if you're cycling and you want to increase your red blood cell count, you can use sauna to increase your red blood cell count, as well as improve cardiovascular system. So you go cycle for 2 hours in sauna for 30 minutes, and you're going to increase your gains. Same goes for weightlifting though, but you go lift heavy to increase muscle mass. You want to use sauna directly after, but then you want to avoid cold plunge. And in my opinion, there's no really strong data here, but muscle protein synthesis needs some time to work. Like, after you break down your muscles, they need time to rebuild. No one really knows exactly how long that time is, but if you go right into a cold bath, you will stop that process from happening. And so you'll actually decrease muscle mass. And that's a common mistake that I see in the athletic community right now, is like, oh, work out super hard, then ice bath. And it's like, well, actually, you're going to lose muscle mass and probably lose total weight if you do that. If you're lifting to gain muscle mass, you want to lift, sauna, avoid cold water therapy, and in my humble opinion, that's got to be like 12 to 18 hours. And then you can do cold. But you could do cold before a heavy lifting session, but then you might want to warm up a little bit longer to get your veins and arteries open, back open, so that you're driving blood deeper into joint and muscle tissue.
Yeah. Interesting. Besides, athletes using it, a lot of entrepreneurs are using it, CEOs. And you talk about how, a lot of clients go to your place and how it makes them better, like entrepreneurs. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays we live in a fast-paced, on-demand world, right? There's tons of competition everywhere. That increases the amount of stress. I mean, we all, well, not everybody's seen this data, but you open your phone like once every 3 minutes for 16 hours. That's stress-inducing just by nature. So we actually track the technology-free hours at Sauna House, and I think that that's another benefit that people don't realize. Like, if you come to Sauna House 3 days a week, you just increase your technology free time by, however long you stayed. But typically our sessions are 2 hours, so that's 6 hours less on your phone. And that increases mental clarity. Cold water therapy, I mean, is incredible for the brain. If you have less inflammation and you have more dopamine, dopamine is amazing for focus. So you cold water therapy and then go to work, great. Just like Huberman was talking about recently in the podcast, like I prefer cold water in the morning and sauna at night. Or if you're going to cycle them, end hot at night and cold in the morning or midday is kind of how I do it. But everybody's body is also different and craves different protocol based on what your desired outcomes are. And so sauna and cold therapy training, it's going to get, the research is going to continue to evolve, and we're involved in a lot of that early research. And what you're going to see is customized training for desired outcome. And so if you're an entrepreneur and you want to increase your ability to get work done, pairing cold water therapy workouts is a good idea. And pairing sauna before bed to increase your sleep is also a good idea. So you feel great the next day you wake up ready to work.
Mm, yeah, I love that. And it's kind of like it's like a word, it's like another way to, boost your productivity. One thing is you created this business, a lot of people are interested in this and but you're an entrepreneur. So what are some of the business lessons you learned from starting
Mhm.
this and all of that?
Well, we've learned a lot because we were 12 and a half months old when COVID closed us. So that was a great teacher. When I started this business, I've owned other companies and been involved in small businesses my whole life. And when I started this one, I met a lot of other bathhouse owners. I researched a ton. I built my business model, and I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to make enough money that I can have a GM, and I'm not going to have to go to work anymore, and I can mountain bike and hang out with my kids. That sounds really good. And that was my goal. And then the more and more I got into the industry, my curiosity for it continued to drive me to really wanting to help steward the industry. This is ancient stuff, right? This has been around since the beginning of time. We all bathe somewhere, somehow. And typically that just involved the natural elements of that space. But the US really have no amazing bathing culture, right? And so you're seeing a lot of different shapes and sizes of sauna and cold plunge use. But Sauna House really, we specialize in sauna bathing. We celebrate the ancient ritual of bathing and we embrace modern future and the science behind it. And so now I've built this company where we started franchising 18 months ago. We have 5 projects underway right now. We have a bunch more right behind it, it looks like. And we've built something where we have an amazing brand. We build a really cool and fun team to work for. And now other people can buy in and have these lifestyle businesses where they can have a GM and 2 assistant GMs and run it and go mountain biking. But right now, me and my team are pretty hard at work to make that possible for everybody else because we care a lot about what the future of sauna bathing in America looks like.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. What business books have you read or that you recommend for people
Mhm.
interested in for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think that depends on what their strengths are. I think every entrepreneur has strengths and weaknesses, and knowing what those are is really important. I think there's one of my good books that I really enjoyed was by David Allen. It was called, I think, Do Getting Things Done, maybe. And he has a process where it's like do, decide, delegate, delete. It's a really great book for scaling rapidly because I keep notes in 2 places, then reconcile those every week, and I delegate what I have to, I do what I have to, and that's really helped increase my productivity. And then, if you're in hospitality, Danny Meyer's book on hospitality is really incredible.
Uh-huh.
He's just a totally huge thought leader in the space of hospitality. And my mom gave me his book 2 weeks before Sauna House opened, and it was hugely influential. And it's still a read that we require of every employee. And we are just talking about it 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
those are 2 good books that I would recommend.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, how can people contact you, follow you, check out your
Sure.
resources and everything?
You can follow our social media. So we're most active on Instagram right now. That's sauna_house. And then you can go to our saunahouse.com is our website, and nested in there is the franchise. So if you're interested in franchising, you can go to that portal, and someone on our team will reach out to you and start to see if you're a good candidate to own a sauna house business and be part of this crazy journey we're on. So those are the 2 main areas. You can subscribe to our newsletter there. We're very active with our newsletter.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank for this wonderful, very interesting conversation around health, wellness, fitness, productivity. I love entrepreneurs. All of the resources will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming out to the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris.